Millionaire thought he was marrying an ugly woman in an arranged marriage, but he was shocked when soft lanterns glowed amid the grand courtyard of the Taj Lake Palace in Udaipur, where dignitaries and society elites gathered for an opulent wedding. Among them was Arun Chopra, a billionaire tech magnate, resplendent in a gold-embroidered sherwani, though his face revealed more tension than joy. He was about to seal an arranged marriage with a woman he'd heard was far from beautiful, a rumor repeated so often that resentment had settled in him. Yet as he braced himself for a loveless alliance, the moment he first glimpsed his bride's veiled face, something thundered in his heart. He never expected the shocking twists that would soon unfold. Arun Chopra had earned the title Rajasthan's Tech King after founding Chopra Innovations, a startup that soared to global success. With offices in Mumbai, Singapore, and Silicon Valley, he consolidated his fortune in record time. Despite his modern achievements, he was also bound by old-world tradition. His large family insisted he uphold their centuries-old lineage by entering an arranged marriage. At 32, Arun believed in forging his own path. He had dated casually in college, but never formed a deep bond. Under pressure from his grandmother, the family matriarch, he reluctantly agreed to meet prospective brides from among Rajasthan's aristocratic circles. One day, a well-connected relative introduced him to the idea of marrying Amira Rathore from a once prominent but financially struggling noble family. Rumor claimed Amira was kind, yet unfortunately plain. Some even whispered she had unsightly scars or a disfigurement, a rumor that snowballed into talk of her being ugly. Arun's grandmother seized on this match, citing that Amira's lineage was impeccable and her father was a dear friend. The alliance would bolster tradition, quell gossip, and allegedly produce stable heirs. Though uneasy, Arun found himself cornered by family duty. He'd heard that Amira was shy, reserved, and overshadowed by these rumors. Sensing he might be trapped in an unfulfilling union, he tried to glean more out her, but each attempt led to half-baked stories that fed his cynicism. So it was that the wedding date was set in a swirl of old-world grandeur. The Taj Lake Palace in Udaipur was chosen as the venue, a floating marble marvel on Lake Piccola, once the playground of Maharajas. Arun, stoic yet resigned, prepared for a union he believed doomed to superficial appearances. Little did he know, his assumptions stood on the brink of cataclysmic collapse. In the days leading up to the wedding, Udaipur's social circles buzzed with speculation. Some acquaintances teased that Arun Chopra was wasting himself on a rumored homely bride, while others insisted she had a hidden charm, but none had truly seen her beyond fleeting glimpses. The Rathore family remained discreet, declining open photos or advanced introductions. Their finances, once flourishing, had faltered. This marriage might salvage them from ruin, fueling cynicism among some who said Amira was just a tool for her family's survival. Amira, meanwhile, dwelled quietly in her ancestral Havli in the old city. She'd grown up amid elaborate tapestries and dusty corridors, learning traditional Rajasthani dance, poetry, and music. In her youth, she'd been an exuberant child, but an accident left a faint scar across one cheek. Cruel rumors magnified it as a monstrous disfigurement. Over time, Amira retreated from social events. When the proposal from the Chopra family arose, she complied out of filial duty, though her heart trembled with fear of rejection. She told her closest friend, Riya Singh, "I dread seeing the disappointment in his eyes if he believes those rumors about me." Riya comforted her. "The truth is, you're lovely, scars and all." He might be pleasantly surprised, but Amira still harbored dread. No official courtship preceded the wedding just a formal agreement between families. The day approached with mounting tension. As the wedding date neared, the city's regal heritage mingled with modern spectacle. Relatives from across India arrived in droves. The Taj Lake Palace was abuzz with decorators and caterers. Amira, in her private suite, tried to calm her fluttering nerves by practicing Rajasthani folk tunes on a sitar. Meanwhile, across the shimmering lake, Arun wrestled with skepticism, little suspecting the hidden depths Amira possessed. Bright sunlight danced on Lake Piccola as the wedding dawned. The palace courtyard brimmed with fresh marigold garlands and regal silver chairs. Drummers prepared a rhythmic welcome for the groom's procession. Guests from business tycoons to Rajasthan, royals strolled in flamboyant attire. Arun, dressed in a gold sherwani with an embroidered turban, tried to exude calm. Yet inside, doubt gnawed. Will my bride truly be the plain figure everyone claims? How will this reflect on me? He glanced at his smartphone, noticing a flurry of congratulatory messages, but none from close friends who might sense his reluctance. A small part of him hoped that maybe the rumors were exaggerated, or that physical appearance wouldn't matter if their personalities aligned, but cynicism overshadowed hope. He steeled himself for a polite but soulless union, reassuring himself that once married, he'd continue his life as usual: business expansions, lavish travels, minimal spousal engagement. Simultaneously, Amira prepared in a secluded suite, robed in a breathtaking red lehenga. Skilled stylists pinned her hair with jasmine buds, layering on delicate jewelry. Despite the swirling panic in her chest, she tried to remain composed for her family's sake. She repeated a silent mantra: "I am more than my scar. Let me have dignity, no matter what he thinks." Her father, the once proud but now subdued Vikram Rathore, offered a trembling blessing. Both recognized the alliance was vital for preserving their family's standing. At mid-morning, the wedding ceremony began. Drummers thundered, conch shells blew, and guests thronged the courtyard. Arun stepped onto the dais by a lavish canopy. He scanned the crowd, glimpsing the approaching figure of his bride, face veiled. He inhaled, bracing for the rumored shock. Instead, the real shock would soon be all his. A hush fell as Amira, draped in swirling red and gold, guided by her father and aunt, stepped toward the dais. The gentle clang of her bangles echoed. Her face was mostly hidden by a sheer embroidered veil. The tension in Arun's posture was unmistakable. This was the moment he'd see if the rumors were true. Guests pressed in, excited, while some stifled snickers, anticipating a gasp from the groom. When Amira halted before Arun, the officiant signaled them to exchange garlands. Her slender hands trembled slightly as she lifted the flower garland over his turban. He felt the brush of her presence, faint perfume drifting from beneath her veil. Then came the moment. The officiant asked them to confirm their acceptance of the union. As part of the tradition, Amira lifted her veil just enough to meet his gaze. The world seemed to freeze. Arun's breath caught. Yes, there was a faint scar across her left cheek, a pale line near her jaw, but her eyes were large and luminous, her features delicate. She was, in fact, quite graceful, not the monstrous figure gossip had painted. In that fleeting second, he realized how cruel rumors can be. A jolt of confusion filled him. She's not ugly at all. She's lovely. He sensed a quiet strength in her, an unspoken sadness, perhaps. Amira glimpsed his startled reaction. A flicker of vulnerability crossed her eyes, expecting revulsion. Instead, he simply stared, lost for words. The officiant's voice prodded them onward, snapping Arun from his daze. He managed to recite his vow, placing the garland around her neck. The ceremony advanced. The shock in his mind lingered, He had entered this wedding expecting to keep emotional distance, but a new curiosity stirred. Perhaps this marriage might not be a hollow arrangement after all. After the vows and blessings, the wedding festivities continued with feasting and music. The grand dining hall boasted Rajasthani delicacies, a swirl of colourfully clad guests. Arun and Amira received well wishes, standing side by side for formal photos. He politely introduced her to some business associates. She responded with gentle courtesy. Observing her refined manners, he recalled that she'd once studied arts and literature, not the uneducated, timid figure he'd conjured in his mind. Yet beneath the polished surface, awkwardness simmered. They were near strangers forced into marriage. Amira felt acutely aware of the hush stares her scar occasionally drew. She also sensed the flicker of guilt behind Arun's respectful tone. He'd apparently believed ugly rumors. Now confronted by her reality, he didn't know how to proceed. Meanwhile, clan elders beamed, oblivious to the internal conflict brewing between bride and groom. Later that evening, the palace's open courtyard hosted a cultural performance, folk dancers twirling in shimmering skirts to the beat of dole and santoor. Amira, exhausted from hours of ceremonies, found a moment's respite by a lotus pond. She gazed at the reflection of the moon on water, letting out a sigh. Then came footsteps. Arun approached quietly. They stood side by side, the distant laughter of guests behind them. "It's been quite a day," he murmured. Amira nodded, eyes fixed on the pond. "Yes." He turned slightly, compelled to speak. "I apologize. I believed cruel rumors. You're not what people said." She smiled faintly, bitterness glimmering. "Rumors rarely hold truth. Silence spanned, thick with unsaid words." Then the older relatives called them for a final group photo. They parted with a sense that the ground beneath them had shifted, and neither quite knew which path they'd tread next. Following the lavish wedding, tradition dictated that Amira join Arun at his family's estate in Jaipur for initial post-wedding rituals. So she departed her father's Havli, entering the grand Chopra mansion, a modern fortress of glass and marble, filled with staff and advanced security. The difference from her old-world Havli was stark, high-tech security systems, minimalist decor, artworks from global travels. She felt disoriented, missing the old courtyards and the hush rustle of ancient trees. Arun, though polite, remained guarded. He'd taken a week off from his punishing work schedule to ease her transition, but conversation remained surface level. Over shared breakfasts, they discussed the day's schedule or replied to endless well-wishing texts. Amira quietly explored the mansion, discovering a well-stocked library. She lost herself flipping through volumes of poetry. Meanwhile, the staff was told to respect her as the new mistress of the house, yet she perceived their curiosity about her rumoured scar. One evening, Amira found Arun in the living room, scanning business reports. She mustered courage to ask about his company. He explained Chopra innovations, how expansions in e-commerce were planned. She listened, truly interested, offering a viewpoint from her knowledge of cultural markets. He found her insights surprisingly astute. A spark of mutual respect glimmered, overshadowing initial prejudices. Yet each night they parted to separate bedrooms. The emotional chasm was real, forced union or not. They were in no rush to conjure marital intimacy. The staff whispered about an odd, newlywed household. Amira tried ignoring it, focusing on settling in. She wrote letters to her father, ignoring rumors swirling that her new husband was a work-obsessed recluse. Meanwhile, deep inside, both recognized a growing desire to truly understand one another beyond the shadows of a rumored ugly wife and an aloof millionaire husband. As the swirl of wedding aftermath receded, a business associate of Arun's, Dev Mehta, hosted a high society gathering in Mumbai. Dev insisted that Arun bring his new wife. Eager to present a united front, Arun invited Amira to accompany him, albeit hesitantly. She, equally hesitant, decided to comply. This event would be her first public appearance as Mrs. Chopra. Upon arriving at Dev's lavish penthouse, the clamor of expensive laughter and designer outfits enveloped them. Amira wore a tasteful saree with subdued makeup, refusing to camouflage her scar. She stepped inside, drawing stares from a crowd curious about the mysterious new bride rumored to be a mismatch for the charismatic tycoon. A hush followed them. At first, some guests eyed Amira with disdain or pity, noticing the faint scar. Yet, as they conversed, they discovered her eloquence, knowledge of art, and genuine grace. A small circle formed around her, engaged by her gentle charm. Meanwhile, Arun hung with business moguls, half keeping an eye on how she fared. He overheard a pair of socialites whispering, "She's not the ghastly figure we heard." Another replied, "She's actually quite elegant." Relief flickered in Arun's chest. He saw she was skillfully navigating the crowd. But then came a snide remark from a rival's wife, Anita Malik. "So you must be so grateful to bag Mr. Chopra, dear. Heard he was forced to marry you out of family obligations." The subtle insult stung. Amira calmly responded, "We share a family heritage that's deeper than rumor." The woman smirked, but Amira's poise disarmed further jabs. Arun, noticing the tense exchange, stepped in and introduced Amira properly, praising her knowledge of Rajasthani culture. She accepted his gesture with a polite smile. In that fleeting moment, they displayed a synergy that neither expected, a subtle unity forging in the face of external scrutiny. Days after the Mumbai soiree, while rummaging in the Chopra Mansion's library, Amira discovered an antique piano tucked behind shelves. Surprised since it was a mostly classical Indian household, she asked a servant about it. The elderly butler explained that Arun had once tried learning Western classical piano, but gave it up. She, curious, tested a few keys. Though she specialized in Indian instruments, she found the piano's resonance enthralling. One afternoon, she ventured to play a short raga-inspired improvisation, fusing Indian scales with Western chords. Lost in the music, she failed to notice Arun returning from work early. He hovered in the doorway, mesmerized by the haunting melody that swirled through the library's echo. The piece ended. She turned, startled to see him. He stepped forward, voice hushed. "I never knew you played," she blushed. "Not exactly. I just experiment. Father taught me basic theory in multiple instruments." Observing how her face glowed with passion for music, he felt a stirring. The scar that once overshadowed her was irrelevant in that moment. Her artistry overshadowed it. Tentatively, he sat beside her on the bench. "I learned a bit, but never mastered." She gently guided his hands to the keys, showing him a simple chord progression. Their fingers nearly brushed. A quiet communion formed, an unspoken acceptance that they both had hidden aspects. For a moment, they laughed softly at a sour note, the tension easing. Later, as the chords drifted away, Amira rose, shyly stepping back. Arun, impressed, realized she possessed multiple layers: intelligence, cultural depth, musical creativity. An unexpected wave of regret about their forced marriage turned into curiosity. Could they build something genuine if they overcame old prejudices? Despite the blossoming closeness, friction remained. The next time they joined a social event, a charity fundraiser, Arun introduced Amira with more confidence. People admired her quiet grace. Some old friends teased, "Arun, You're lucky. Heard she's quite the artist too. He feigned indifference. Yet in a corner, a boorish investor, Raj Bedi, sneered that Arun ended up with a subpar beauty for family pride. Amira overheard the remark, reawakening her insecurities. She excused herself, stepping away to hide tears. Arun, catching wind of the slight, confronted Raj in hushed anger. But the damage was done. After the party, Amira turned cold, asking whether these jabs about her looks would always plague them. In the car ride home, tension crackled. She demanded, "Why not refute them? Why do you let them say I'm ugly or subpar?" He bristled. "I can't control every rumor. People talk," she glared. "But you're my husband, shouldn't you defend me more vigorously?" His temper flared. "This marriage was never my choice. I'm doing what I can. Don't blame me for their gossip." The words wounded her deeply, as though he believed them. Silence fell, their fragile progress shattered by raw frustration. The car reached the mansion. She hurried inside to her bedroom, tears shining. He paced in the foyer, cursing the swirl of rumors and his own inability to console her. That night, they slept in separate wings, hearts burdened by unspoken apologies. The next day, he left early for a business trip. Amira turned to the piano, fingers trembling as she played a lament. She began to question if any real bond could survive the relentless scorn from outside and the lingering doubts within. Unbeknownst to Amira, during his business trip, Arun uncovered a piece of his father's estate records that shed light on the original impetus behind the arranged match. Tucked away in old documents was a letter from Arun's father to Vikram Rathore, Amira's father, detailing a long-standing family promise. They'd once pledged to unite their families, ensuring the Rathore's historical estate remained preserved, while the Chopra wealth expanded regionally. Yet hidden in the letter was also an expression of genuine admiration. Vikram's daughter was described as beautiful in spirit and rumored to be gifted in the arts. Reading this, Arun realized that the arrangement had roots beyond mere social convenience. There was a genuine mutual respect. The scars and rumors about Amira's ugliness seemed more like malicious gossip that warped over time. Perhaps his father truly believed she would be a perfect partner for him, bridging heritage and modern ambition. Mulling over this discovery, guilt gnawed at him for letting vile rumors cloud his judgment. He texted Amira, "I found something about our family's arrangement. We should talk." Arun. She didn't respond immediately. Her silence weighed on him. He recognized how his thoughtless remark at the last party had wounded her. While traveling, he brooded over ways to mend the rift, perhaps revealing the letter's content and apologizing wholeheartedly. If they were to move forward, honesty was essential. Meanwhile, a series of missed calls from Vikram Rathore indicated some urgent matter. Could it be about Amira's rumored meltdown? With a swirl of tension, Arun concluded his business quickly, booking an early flight home to face the marital conflict head-on. Upon returning to the Chopra mansion, Arun found the household in subdued chaos. Amira's father, Vikram Rathore, had arrived, appearing distressed. The staff milled about uncertainly. Vikram cornered Arun in the library, voice trembling. "My daughter, she contemplates leaving. She says this union is too painful, that the scorn about her looks and your half-hearted defense is unbearable. She's packing. I beg you, talk sense into her." Arun's chest constricted. Despite their marriage's rocky start, the thought of losing Amira stung. He recalled their fleeting moments of closeness. Summoning courage, he rushed to her suite. She was indeed packing a small suitcase, tears streaking her cheeks. He approached quietly. "Amira, wait. Let me explain." She turned, pain clouding her face. "I can't remain in a place where my presence is ridiculed. And you yourself said it. This marriage wasn't your choice." He raked a hand through his hair, voice low. I said foolish things. I was angry. The truth is, I found a letter from my father, praising you. He believed in our union. He never called you ugly. The entire rumor was baseless. She paused, conflict in her eyes. Then why did you let those rumors stand? Why no defense at that party? His voice cracked. Because I was a coward, stuck in my pride. But I see your worth now. If you leave, I can't bear it. He gently reached for her hand. Please, give me a chance to prove I value you for your talent, your strength, your heart. Let's restore the dignity our families intended. She stared at his sincere gaze, tears warming. The tension hung on a razor's edge, the suitcase half filled. Vikram lingered outside the door, desperate for a sign of resolution. Amira set aside the suitcase, heart pounding. She studied Arun's earnest expression, recalling the humiliations, rumors, and fleeting kindness he'd shown. The scars from their initial union still stung, but a quiet voice within whispered that he was changing. Did she dare trust him? She spoke softly. If we proceed, we must do it for ourselves, not just family legacy. I want respect, genuine care, no more shame about my looks or that scar. I want your public defense if rumors persist. And your friendship. He nodded fervently, tears nearly forming. Yes, I promise. I realize I was blind to rumor and my arrogance. I see you now, truly. They embraced in a tentative hug, awkward at first, then a wave of relief washing them. Vikram, peering from the hall, exhaled a grateful sigh, stepping away to give them privacy. The next morning, news spread that Amira had chosen to remain, forging a fresh start. Some staff murmured hopefully, others cynically. But the couple's dynamic shifted. Tangibly, Arun invited her to a business dinner, proudly introducing her. When a snide remark about the bride's rumored homeliness surfaced, Arun instantly retorted, "Those rumors are baseless. My wife is remarkable inside and out," stunning the gossip. Amira, hearing this, felt a glow of acceptance. At home, they began spending evenings together, she reading poetry, he working near her side. Occasionally they teased each other over minor chores, laughter bridging the quiet. The emotional walls they'd built started to crack, letting sincerity seep in. Soon the final unveiling of her talents in a public setting and the acceptance of her as a cherished partner would mark the ultimate triumph over rumor and scorn. To celebrate their new marital harmony, Vikram Rathora and Arun's grandmother proposed a formal reception, a combined event of culture and charitable cause, inviting Rajasthan's nobles and tech luminaries. Hosted at the Chopra mansion, the evening aimed to quell lingering rumors, letting Amira shine as a rightful partner to Arun. The night arrived. Chandeliers sparkled, guests in regal attire strolled across polished floors, live sitar music drifting from the courtyard. Amira, draped in an elegant saffron and gold lehenga, greeted visitors with poise. She no longer hid her scar behind heavy makeup. Instead, she wore it with quiet confidence, reflecting her resilience. Partway through the event, Vikram discreetly suggested Amira perform a brief musical piece, fusing Rajasthani folk elements with Western style. Initially shy, she saw Arun's encouraging nod and decided to accept. The crowd hushed as she took a seat behind a small harmonium and a grand piano side by side. Merging the two instruments in a mesmerizing arrangement, she delivered a transcendent performance that fused her heritage with modern flair. Guests were enraptured, many moved to tears by the melodic conversation between East and West. This time, there was no murmur of ugliness, only reverent applause at her artistry. Post-performance cameras snapped, journalists scribbled notes for tomorrow's headlines. Amira stepped from the stage, breath heaving, eyes shining with triumph. Arun approached, gently grasping her hand, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." That night, the rumor of her homeliness was irreversibly replaced by acclaim for her beauty in spirit and talent. The grand reception ended with a swirl of admiration, sealing Amira's place in the Chopra family and in her husband's renewed heart. Weeks after the grand reception, life settled into a steady rhythm for Amira and Arun. Freed from destructive gossip, they found mutual respect. Day by day, conversation blossomed into open sharing of dreams. She planned to establish a cross-cultural music academy for underprivileged children. He considered scaling back some corporate mania to focus on philanthropic ventures. Laughter began punctuating their dinners, and nights found them discussing expansions of Chopra innovations with Amira's insights on cultural inclusivity. One morning, as golden sunlight spilled into the mansion's courtyard, they stood side by side, sipping tea. Amira teased him about a future baby or traveling together. He teased back, apologizing for once believing her to be ugly. She rolled her eyes with a grin, retorting that external beauty pales next to authenticity. They recognized their forced union had grown into something real, tempered by hardship, sealed by empathy. In a final gesture of closure, Arun arranged a small dedication ceremony in the mansion's library, installing a portrait of both families together. Vikram, present, felt tears of joy seeing how far they'd come. As the ceremony ended, Amira performed a short piece on the piano, the same melody that once graced the Taj Lake Palace. The entire household staff, including family elders, listened in rapt awe. At last, the ugly bride rumor was just a faint memory, overshadowed by her luminous spirit. The millionaire groom, once callous about superficial gossip, now cherished the woman who'd turned his marriage from an obligatory contract into a profound bond. Their marriage soared beyond tradition's constraints, forging a future bridged by mutual respect and the unbreakable music of their hearts. In the end, Arun Chopra entered his arranged marriage expecting to fulfill a duty tethered to a woman rumored to be painfully ugly. Yet from the very moment Amira Rathore lifted her veil, he discovered the rumors to be a cruel distortion. Far from unappealing, her quiet radiance and remarkable artistry shattered every assumption. Overcoming malicious gossip, archaic tradition, and their own guarded hearts, they inched toward a bond that surpassed superficial measure. Amira's triumphant musical performances quashed the mocking whispers, while Arun's confession of guilt and new humility bridged the chasm separating them. Their union, first forged in reluctant formality, evolved into an earnest partnership grounded in respect and genuine care. The rumor of ugliness morphed into a testimony of resilience and hidden beauty revealed. If their transformational journey moved you, please like, share the video far and wide, and subscribe to our channel. Each engagement amplifies tales celebrating love's power to overcome prejudice and ignite new beginnings.